Hey, I'm Adam from Destination Deca. Ready to discover a small city with big surprises? In the next few minutes we'll tour Olympia, a place where a grand marble capital meets wild estuaries, cider farms, and secret hiking spots. Whether you're planning a weekend escape or a longer Pacific Northwest road trip, I'll show you the best places to eat, explore, and photograph, plus the local tips that make each stop unforgettable. Let's get into it. Number 10, Washington State Capitol Building. Stand on the broad steps and you're facing one of the Pacific Northwest's most impressive civic landmarks, the neoclassical Legislative Building with its 287-foot dome and marble facade. Inside, the rotunda, legislative chambers, and public art tell the story of Washington's political and cultural history. Guided tours walk you through architecture, memorials, and the stories behind the statues and plaques scattered across the grounds. The campus itself functions like an urban arboretum. Formal gardens, memorials, and matured trees create quiet pockets for photos and reflection. Fun fact: the Capitol grounds host seasonal concerts, art installations, and public ceremonies, so a repeat visit often reveals something new. Trip tips: check the tour schedule and legislative calendar to avoid closures, arrive early for easier parking, and bring a wide-angle lens for exterior shots at golden hour. Number 9, Olympic National Park. Olympic National Park compresses wildly different landscapes into one protected area: alpine ridgelines, mossy temperate rainforest, and windswept Pacific beaches, making it one of the most ecologically diverse parks in the country. From Olympia you can plan day trips to accessible park highlights: Hurricane Ridge for panoramic mountain views, the Hoh Rainforest for emerald trails and giant trees, or the coastal stretches for tide pooling and dramatic sea stacks. Each area requires different timing and gear. Fun fact: it's possible to experience sun, fog, and rain in a single day here, so the park rewards flexible itineraries. Trip tips: choose one region per outing, check road and trail conditions before you go, pack waterproof layers and sturdy boots, and allow extra time for scenic detours and wildlife viewing. Number 8, Lattin's Country Cider Mill and Farm. Lattin's Country Cider Mill and Farm is a quintessential family farm experience: fresh-pressed cider, warm cider donuts, pumpkin patches, hayrides, and seasonal festivals that draw locals and visitors alike. The farm's small batch approach means you'll often find limited-run ciders, homemade pies, and artisan preserves that make great take-home treats. Fun fact: many traditional cider mills still use vintage presses and techniques that give their cider a distinctive, old-world flavor. Trip tips: visit in October for the full harvest atmosphere. Arrive mid-morning on weekends to beat the longest lines. Bring a cooler if you plan to buy pies or perishable goods, and wear shoes you don't mind getting a little dusty. Number 7, Percival Landing Park. Percival Landing Park is Olympia's waterfront spine, a nearly 1-mile boardwalk that follows Bud Inlet, links public art and interpretive plaques, and offers sweeping views of moored boats, the harbor, and sunset reflections. The landing sits on historic wharf sites and functions as a social hub. Street performers, small festivals, and boat parades are common in warmer months, making it ideal for relaxed strolling and B-roll footage. Fun fact: the sculptures and plaques along the boardwalk highlight maritime history and local cultural stories, so a walk here doubles as a compact history lesson. Trip tips: pair a landing walk with the nearby farmers market or downtown restaurants, bring a light jacket for breezy evenings, and use the boardwalk for low-effort, high-impact filming with water, boats, and skyline backdrops. Number 6, Hands-on Children's Museum. Hands-on Children's Museum is a high-energy, interactive space built for curious kids and the adults who love them. Exhibits are designed to be tactile and exploratory. Think water tables, building zones, pretend play neighborhoods, and rotating science installations that change with the seasons. The museum often runs sensory-friendly hours, story times, and STEAM workshops that make it a great stop for families or school groups. Fun fact: Many exhibits are locally designed and tested with kids, so you'll find creative, hands-on learning experiences you won't see in a typical museum. Trip tips. Arrive right when doors open to avoid crowds. Bring a change of clothes for messy play areas. Check the museum calendar for special events or discounted family nights. And consider a membership if you plan multiple visits. It usually pays off fast. Number 5. Squaxin Park, Priest Point Park. Squaxin Park, commonly known as Priest Point Park, is a sprawling urban green space that blends forested trails, shoreline access, formal gardens, and open lawns into one of Olympia's most beloved outdoor escapes. Hike winding paths through second-growth forest to quiet viewpoints, wander the rose garden in bloom, or follow the shoreline at low tide to explore tidal pools and watch shorebirds. The park also carries deep local significance, with landscapes that connect to indigenous histories and long-standing community stewardship. Fun fact: the park's mix of habitats makes it a hotspot for birdwatching. You can spot everything from songbirds to raptors depending on the season. Trip tips. Bring binoculars and a picnic. Wear sturdy shoes for rooty trails. Plan a low-tide visit if you want to explore the intertidal zone. And use the main parking areas near the Rose Garden or playground for easiest access. Number 4. Brewery Park at Tumwater Falls. Brewery Park centers on a series of scenic cascades where the Deschutes River tumbles through basalt outcrops. This is the historic heart of Tumwater's early industry and the birthplace of regional brewing. Stroll the paved and natural trails that loop past interpretive signs explaining the 19th century mills and the role of the falls in local commerce. Then pause at viewpoints where salmon sometimes stage during their runs. Fun fact: the falls powered sawmills and breweries long before modern utilities, and remnants of that industrial past still dot the park. Trip tips. Visit during late summer or fall for the best salmon viewing. Bring waterproof shoes for wet trail edges, and combine the stop with a short walk through Tumwater's historic downtown. Number 3. Millersylvania State Park. Millersylvania is a classic Pacific Northwest state park built in part by the Civilian Conservation Corps. Its deep lake shoreline, old-growth pines, and well-preserved 1930s park structures give it a timeless, rustic feel. Popular activities include swimming, canoeing, fishing, and miles of shaded trails that are excellent for family hikes and fall foliage walks. Fun fact: many of the park's cabins, picnic shelters, and stonework were constructed by CCC crews during the Great Depression and remain in use today. Trip tips. Reserve campsites and boat launches well in advance for summer weekends. Bring insect repellent for lakeside evenings. And rent a canoe early in the day when the water is calm. Number 2. Tolmie State Park. Tolmie State Park sits on a sheltered stretch of Puget Sound with a mix of rocky shoreline, sandy coves, and short forest trails, an ideal spot for beachcombing, tide pool exploration, and quiet picnics. The park's shallow reefs and eelgrass beds attract shorebirds and make it a popular local spot for clamming and snorkeling when regulations and tides allow. Fun fact: Tolmie's protected waters are named after William Fraser Tolmie, an early Hudson's Bay Company surgeon and explorer in the region. Trip tips. Check tide charts before you go to time low tide exploration. Follow state shellfish regulations if you plan to dig. And bring layered clothing. The shore can be surprisingly cool and windy even on sunny days. Number 1. Billy Frank Jr. Nisqually National Wildlife Refuge. The Billy Frank Jr. Nisqually National Wildlife Refuge is a restored estuary and one of the best places near Olympia to see migratory birds, raptors, and seasonal waterfowl from accessible boardwalks and observation platforms. The refuge showcases large-scale habitat restoration, tidal channels, marshes, and mudflats that support salmon, shorebirds, and a remarkable diversity of wildlife within minutes of the city. Fun fact: the refuge is named for Billy Frank Jr., a Nisqually leader and treaty rights activist whose work helped protect salmon and tribal fishing rights across the region. Trip tips. Visit at dawn or dusk for peak bird activity. Bring a telephoto lens or binoculars, stay on designated trails to protect sensitive habitat, and check the Refuge's visitor center for seasonal programs and guided walks. Thanks for exploring Olympia with me. I'm Adam from Destination Deca. If this guide helped you plan a trip or sparked a new idea, tap *like and subscribe so you don't miss future deep dive travel guides. Drop a comment telling me which spot you'd visit first and type *itinerary if you want a pinned, day-by-day plan. Hit the bell to get notified when the next PNW video drops. Follow Destination Deca on Instagram and X for extra photos, short clips, and live Q and AMP when I'm scouting locations. If you've been to any of these spots, tag at Destination Deca so I can share your shots in a future video. Tell me one thing you want more of: food, hikes, family activities, or hidden history, and I'll prioritize it for the next Olympia deep dive. Thanks for being part of the trip. See you in the next video.